We're going to continue about learning about angles. In this lesson, we're going to learn about congruent angles and the angle bisector. So congruent angles are angles that have the same measure. In geometry, we use a symbol that looks like an equal sign for congruent with a little squiggly line on top. So if you see that symbol, it means congruent. An angle bisector is a ray that divides your angle into two congruent angles. So if you look at this next figure, here ray PN is the angle bisector of NPR. So what ray PN is doing, if you look at it, is it's cutting angle NPR into two congruent angles. So two angles that have the same measure. So here angle MPN and angle NPR are congruent. So ray PN is bisecting angle NPR. And when it bisects it, it creates two congruent angles. So here angle MPN is congruent. Sorry, I spelled that wrong. Angle MPN is congruent to angle RPN. You could have also called that NPR as long as the P is in the middle. So if we look at our first example here, it says if the measure of angle MPN is 2x plus 14, so when you see that little M here, when you read it, you're using the word measure. So it means measure. They're saying angle MPN measures 2x plus 14. So I'm going to label that in the picture. MPN is the angle that's made by those three letters. Then angle NPR measures x plus 34. So this angle down here is x plus 34. They want us to find x and then use x to find the measure of angle NPR. Here, since we know that they have the congruent symbols, that means that these two angles have the same measure, so we can actually set them equal to each other. So I can set 2x plus 14 equal to x plus 34 and use that to solve for x. So I'm going to put my imaginary 1. Remember, when you have letters on both sides, you undo one of them. So I'm going to undo my 1x. Then I'm going to subtract my 14. So I get 1x equals 20. If you divide by 1, x is 20. So we have part of our answer because it was asking us to find x. Now we're going to use that to find the measure of angle NPR. So if you look back, NPR was equal to x plus 34. So if I want to find the measure of angle NPR, I can plug in our answer 20 for x. So we would do 20 plus 34, and our answer would be 54. Since this is an angle, I'm going to use degrees. So measure of angle NPR would be 54 degrees. So we have our answer for x, and we have our answer for our angle. Example 2 gives us a figure. They're telling us that ray QP and ray QR are opposite rays, and QS bisects angle PQT. So in the figure, QS is bisecting angle PQT. That means it's cutting the part I highlighted into two congruent angles. Again, QS here is the bisector. So now we can use that to help us answer the following question. The following question, they tell us angle PQT is 60. So angle PQT is actually that whole big angle right here. So they're saying the whole angle is 60 degrees. And angle PQS, which is the left one, is 4x plus 14. They want us to find the value of x. Well, since we know that angle PQT was cut into two congruent halves, that means that if the whole thing's 60 and we divide by 2, each of those angles is really equal to 30 degrees. So if I want to solve for x, I can set 4x plus 14 equal to 30, and then I can solve. So my answer for x is 4. Here they didn't ask us to plug it back in because we already know each angle is 30 degrees. So we're just solving for x. Our last question here tells us that angle PQS is 3x plus 13. So let's label that. And SQT is 6x minus 2. This is the same picture that they used before. So remember, both of these angles are actually congruent to each other because they were bisected or cut in half. So we can already set 3x plus 13 equal to 6x minus 2. And they want us to use this to find the measure of angle PQT. PQT is that whole big angle. So I'm going to outline it here. So PQT is the whole angle. So we're going to want to find the measure of that whole angle when we're done. But we need to solve for x first. So if I solve for x, I want to undo one of my x's. So I get 13 equals 3x minus 2. 15 equals 3x. Then you can divide by 3. So we get 5 equals x. Now the question wasn't asking for x, it wants the measure of angle PQT. So again, that's the big angle here. There's different ways we can find that. You could find the measure of one of the angles, and then since they're equal, we could add those angles together. So I'm going to plug this into one of them. I'm going to plug it into angle PQS, the 3x plus 13. And our answer for x was 5. So for x, I'm going to put a 5. So we get 15 plus 13, or 28 degrees. So 3x plus 13 is actually equal to 28 degrees. And since this big angle was bisected, angle SQT is also equal to 28 degrees. We want PQT, which is the whole big angle. So you can just add 28 and 28 together, or do 28 times 2. So if we do that, we get 56 degrees. So measure of angle PQT is 56 degrees. And that would be our final answer. So here we're basically using what we learned about the bisector, that it cuts two angles into two congruent halves. But we're applying algebra now to solve problems. So we're combining geometry with algebra in this lesson.